Once again, my love. Amara had always believed that love was gentle, the kind that made mornings brighter and nights warmer. Loving Daniel felt easy, like breathing. He was kind, hardworking, and full of dreams. When he smiled at her, the world felt calm. They talked about the future endlessly, where they would live, how many children they would have, and how they would grow old together. Every day felt like a blessing, and Amara never imagined that happiness could be taken away so suddenly. One evening, Daniel came to her unusually quiet. He sat beside her, holding her hands longer than usual. Amara noticed the weight in his eyes before he even spoke. "I joined the army," he said softly. The words hit her like a slap. She laughed at first, thinking it was a joke, but when she saw his serious face, her heart dropped. "Why would you do that?" she asked, her voice shaking. "There's a war. People don't come back from there." Daniel pulled her closer. "I need to do this. For us. For our future. I promise I'll return." Amara cried that night, clinging to him like she could stop time. She begged him to reconsider, but his decision was already made. On the day he left, she stood among many families, all pretending to be strong. As Daniel walked away in his uniform, he turned one last time and smiled at her. "No matter what happens," he said, "I love you." Those words became her prayer. Days turned into weeks. Amara lived through phone calls, messages, and voice notes. Every time her phone rang, her heart raced. She prayed every night, asking God to protect the man she loved. Then one evening, the messages stopped. Days passed. Silence grew louder. When the knock came at her door, she already knew. She did not scream. She did not cry at first. She simply felt empty, like something inside her had died. The world moved on, but Amara stood still. At the funeral, people spoke kind words, but none of them could bring Daniel back. She stared at his picture, waiting for him to blink, to smile, to tell her it was all a mistake. Grief consumed her. She stopped eating. She stopped laughing. Nights were the worst. She would reach out in her sleep, only to touch emptiness. Friends tried to comfort her, telling her she was young, that life would go on. Their words sounded meaningless. "How do you move on from the person who was your whole life?" she asked through tears. A month later, her body began to change. She felt weak, nauseous, different. When she saw the pregnancy test, her hands trembled. Positive. She fell to the floor, crying uncontrollably. "Daniel," she whispered, "you're still here." For the first time since his death, she felt something other than pain. It was fear mixed with hope. When she told people, reactions were harsh. "You can't keep it," they said. "You'll suffer alone." "You deserve a fresh start," others added. But Amara placed her hand on her stomach and shook her head. "This child is a part of him," she said firmly. "As long as I carry this baby, Daniel is not gone." Pregnancy was not easy. There were days she cried until her chest hurt, days she talked to her belly as if Daniel could hear her. She told her unborn child stories about his father, how brave he was, how deeply he loved, how he died protecting others. At night, she prayed, "God, if this is your will, give me strength." When labor came, pain filled the room, but Amara refused to give up. Hours later, she heard a cry that changed everything. When the baby was placed on her chest, she froze. The baby's eyes, his nose, even the tiny smile, it was Daniel. Tears streamed down her face, but this time they were not only tears of pain. "My love," she whispered, "you came back to me." When asked for the baby's name, she did not hesitate. "Daniel," she said softly. Holding her son healed parts of her she thought were broken forever. Every smile from the baby reminded her that love never truly dies. Sometimes, God doesn't return what we lost the way we expect, but He gives it back in another form. As Amara watched her son sleep peacefully in her arms, she smiled for the first time in months. She looked up to the sky and whispered, "Thank you for letting me see my love once again." And for the first time since the war took Daniel away, her heart felt alive again.